What's going on, Minties? The Uncanny Omar here. How's everybody doing? And I am rolling solo today. So today we're going to be looking at the list of out of print Marvel Omnibuses and announce the one reprint that's coming out later. Well, it'll be solicited in October, but it will be coming out next year sometime. What's up, McNoodles? How's it going, buddy? I was giving my buddies the Omni Bros a little time. What's up, Nick? To wrap up their episode, but I figured I'd go ahead and start it off. So first, I want to apologize for not being able to get on yesterday. I had some family issues come up, so everything is working out okay. So things are getting better. So I'm here. Maybe I'll talk about that a little bit later, but for now, I'm here, man. I'm glad, and thank you to everybody that reached out to me through Facebook, through Instagram. That was really nice, guys. That was really nice. So, what are we talking about today? We're going to go through a list. Uh, let's see. We're going to go through a list of Marvel Omnibus. Now, I have quite a few. And then I'm going to mention the reprint, which, by the way, I do have to give a shout out really quick to somebody that figured out what that was. And that shout out is Joel Ravid. So he figured out what the Omnibus reprint was from a single zoomed in panel in our Facebook and Instagram. So if you haven't checked out our Facebook and Instagram, please do so. But regardless, Joe, my buddy, well done, man. Looks like we're going to have to try harder next month, but he figured out what the Omnibus reprint was. Again, this Omnibus will be coming out in, I want to say they said sometime in either February or March is what David told me. So thank you very much, David, from Marvel Comics, David Gabriel, and Marvel Comics for letting me have the advanced solicitations and advanced list. So I'll be doing something similar in October. All right. Jess is cursing my name on the other channel. Man, I love Jess, so I can't speak bad of him. So today, I also want to say that this episode is sponsored. This is the very first time by cheapgraphicnovels.com. Your home for online and brand new graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. And Cheap Graphic Novels is currently offering up to 60% off select Marvel Omnibus editions, Epic Collections, and more. The sale runs until this Sunday, June 23rd, while supplies last. Some of the deals this week include Deadpool, the Adamantium Collection, which retails for $200, but at 50% off, it's $99.99. And also on sale is Captain America Omnibus Volume 1. The retail of that book is $125, but at 60% off, you only pay $50. That's kind of a great deal. You can find the sale by clicking on the banner on Cheap Graphic Novels homepage or by clicking on the link in the description. Now, I am going to share my screen. So bear with me, everybody. Let's do this together. There's quite a few books I didn't realize that were out of print. So let's share my screen. Feels so weird not having a co-host. Screen share. Bam. You're like, who's gonna get me to keep my shit together? Hey, think Javier Rivera. What's up, Philip? That sale, Philip Evans, was at cheapgraphicnovels.com. They're having 50 to 60% off of Epic Collections and Marvel Omnibuses. And today we're talking about the out of print Marvel Omnibuses. So let's look at this list together. If everybody let me know if you can see my screen, that'd be swell. And we'll kick it off. So these books are currently out of print or have been out of print for the longest time. 50%. Yeah, man. I'd have a co-host if I was on Omni Bros Live. Zing. The sale ends this Sunday. This Sunday is when the sale ends. So check out Cheap Graphic Novels. That is our official sponsor for this segment. So moving on to the out of print books, we have Acts of Vengeance Omnibus and the Acts of Vengeance crossover omnibuses. Now, both of those had different covers. So they had variant covers. They had a DM cover and a variant cover. And I love these two covers. This is the ones that I chose because they connect. I love when covers do that. So moving on is Alias Omnibus and Amazing Fantasy. Now, Alias, this is the second printing of Alias that's been out of print. So that's kind of cool that they reprinted it, because those Brian Michael Bendis books don't get reprinted that often. Amazing Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 2 and 3 are out of print as well. Both of them have a DM and a regular cover, a standard edition, and a DM cover. The DM is, of course, harder to find. And, of course, as soon as Annihilation comes back into print, Annihilation Conquest goes out of print. So, no, I'm not flexing, but Matthew, I do have I do have an announcement to make later on. About one of these on this list is getting reprinted. And I do want to tell you guys a little bit more information from Marvel and talking to them a lot more and what they have in store for reprints. It's exciting. So I'll talk about that here towards the end. One of my favorite omnibuses that for some reason only had one printing, and that is Astonishing X-Men. That was actually one of my first questions to David Gabriel. I'm like, why does something like New X-Men had 3 different printings, but Astonishing X-Men had only one? And I always thought it was like, is it because Joss Whedon is like not working for Marvel, or you guys have to give him a bigger check? And he kind of clarified everything for me. He was like, no, not really. We just don't realize that some of these books are out of print. He's been a real joy to work with. Then we have Atlantis Attacks. I know everybody wants that book. Avengers by Busick and Perez, Volume 1 is out of print. And the Hickvengers. Man, I swear, Jonathan Hickman books are all out of print just about. So we have Avengers by Jonathan Hickman, Volume 1 and 2, completely gone. Avengers Omnibus Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out of print. Now, again, both of those had 2 different covers. Speaking of 2 different covers, so did Avengers The Crossing. Who's got both covers? Who loves Avengers The Crossing that much? This guy does. I don't have both covers, by the way, but I do like that stupid story. Brian Michael Bendis Crime Noir Omnibus, also out of print. And here comes all the Brubaker. So we have Captain America, the first volume, Death of Captain America Lives, Captain America Trial of Captain America. All 4 of those Brubaker books are out of print. As a matter of fact, I think one of them has been out of print for about 5 years now. Captain America by Jack Kirby, which you can still find on the cheap side, but it is out of print. Then we have Captain Britain, also 2 covers. Yeah, the DM and the variant cover. And that's probably one of the books that I remember that I got from Barnes & Noble during that 2010 glitch. And hopefully they'll reprint it, because there's some good stuff in there. And here we have Dark Tower Omnibus and Dark Tower the Gunslinger Omnibus. Now, both of those, I believe, belong to... I don't think Marvel owns the rights to them, so when people have asked me if they're going to reprint them, I think these are both highly unlikely, because I think somebody else is printing the hardcovers now, not the Omnis. The best Deadpool story ever, come at me, and that is Cable and Deadpool Omnibus. I don't give a shit what this says. That is Cable and Deadpool, despite of what the name says. Deadpool by Joe Kelly. This is a great run. This is the follow-up to the Deadpool Classic Omnibus. Devil Dinosaur, probably the smallest dinosaur omnibus I've ever seen. Like, this is a tiny little omnibus. It's like the size of, I want to say it's smaller than the Elektra Lives Omnibus. Doctor Strange Omnibus is out of print already, both covers. Eternals, which, like, I don't speak for Marvel, but I do want to say, Eternals, I kind of see this being reprinted around the time that the movie comes out. Just saying, if I were a business and a movie was coming out, I'd want to reprint the book that it's loosely based on. Evolutionary War, both both the DM and the variant cover out of print, same as Fantastic Four Volume 2 by John Byrne. The first volume just came back into print, so hopefully they'll print this one again. I love reading all these messages. Keep them coming, guys, because I do want to talk to you all at the end here and take any questions, and I'll be happy to answer what I can answer. Some things I can't say yet until they say okay. Fantastic Four by Fraction Omnibus. Yeah, these 2 make sense though. Both of the Hickman Fantastic Fours are out of print, and those are probably have been out of print for a couple of years now. And I know those are most wanted by a lot of people. Fantastic Four Volume 2 and Volume 3 are out of print, both of the covers. Both of those, I think we'll see another printing because we just had Volume 1 reprinted with the John Byrne Volume 1. So here's a sleeper hit. I remember this. This is Jason Aaron's Ghost Rider Omnibus. Then we have Howard the Duck out of print again because this is the second printing of Howard the Duck. Immortal Iron Fist, only one printing, and it's gone. Okay, here we go. Incredible Hulk. This is a hard one because even though it's been out of print for about 7 years, it took a long time for this book to sell out. Oh man, are the Omni Bros still on? Tell those guys I love them. Jess knows I love that guy. He doesn't need to know, but I do love that man. Infinity Gauntlet Omnibus. This is one of my questions. Was the very first time I talked to Marvel. I was wondering why they didn't reprint Infinity Gauntlet, and David just told me, exactly what me and everybody else was probably thinking. It's because they had that Infinity Gauntlet box set, so there was no way they could release this. So here, probably in a couple of years, I hope that we see this again. Maybe with the release of the Infinity Crusade Omnibus, that I'm totally just assuming they're going to do. So I think this is, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but I think this is one that that's one of a kind, and that is because the Invincible Iron Man had 3 covers. It had this cover right here, which I love, by the way. This is the one that I had that I sold. It had the classic cover, the DM cover, and then it had the movie cover. Now, correct me in the chat, but is that the only omnibus that has had 3 different covers? I could be wrong. I'm probably more than likely wrong, but let's see. Moving on to Invincible Iron Man Volume 2. That only had 2 covers. What's up, Gio? I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to cockblock the show. I thought you guys were done. Iron Man by Kurt Busiek and Sean Chen out of print. That one took a few years to go out of print. Iron Man by David Michelinie and Bob Layton. John Romita Jr. Omnibus. Also had 2 different covers. John Carter, Warlord of Mars, and Man Thing. I remember these I got from D Header on eBay. I got them for like $29 because they were liquidated, which probably means he paid about $12 for each one of these. And now they're out of print. Both covers of Man Thing and Warlord of Mars here, John Carter. I love this Alan Davis cover. Marvel 75th Anniversary Omnibus is out of print. Okay, so the Complete Shield had 3 different covers. Thanks, Justin. I really thought it was just that Iron Man. Marvel Now Omnibus out of print. Man, does anybody own that? I'd love to know in the chat if anybody owns this kind of omnibus, the Marvel Now Omnibus. Marvel's Omnibus. Man, I think I remember passing up on this even when it was liquidated. I was like, nah, I just couldn't get into that story. And, I mean, Kirkman's okay. Journey into Mystery. This is the Mighty Thor Omnibus Volume 1. I love this variant. This is the cover that I had, and I sold it a few years ago. This damn thing has shot up in price like crazy. Like, it's insane how much these damn things go for when they're out of print. Mighty Thor Volume 2 is out of print, both covers. Miles Morales. I think this went out of print because of the printing issue that they had with the spine. So I hope this one gets reprinted fairly soon. Omar, what's your yearly budget on these Omnis? Well, my wife's at home now, so $25. New Avengers Omnibus Volume 1. Again, another Bendis Omnibus that didn't get a second volume. And I love this cover. This is the Joe Quesada cover. And one of the greatest, most underrated superhero omnibuses ever released was New Warriors Omni Volume 1. It had 2 covers. It had the Scotty Young cover and it had this classic Mark Bagley cover. And this is the cover that I went with because that was my jam back in the day. And if you haven't picked this up, if you run upon it, do yourself a favor and buy it. I know it's 90s, but it's so good. Powers Omnibus by Brian Michael Bendis. Only 1 volume, sadly. Here's a couple Punishers because we just had a lot of the Punisher Garth Ennis stuff reprinted. And Punisher Max Omnibus by Jason Aaron and Punisher by Rick Remender Omnibus also out of print. Yeah, we all hide the budget from our wives. Don't feel bad. Secret Warriors is out of print. That's another okay. That was another one that I remember going to liquidated price. So here's the thing, it's so weird, like, these things are out of print now and how much they go for, but at one time they were liquidated for, like, $29 because nobody was buying them. So it's hard for Marvel to, like, justify, "Okay, we gotta reprint Secret Warriors," but that's the thing, like, I try to tell them, like, it's a different market now. Like, it's totally a different market than it was 10 years ago. Secret Wars Omnibus Volume 1 and Volume 2 are out of print, or I'm sorry, Secret Wars 2, it's not Volume 2. This is a huge omnibus, by the way. Silver Surfer Omnibus out of print, and recently the Silver Surfer Omnibus by Dan Slott went out of print. What's up, Josh? How's it going, brother? I've known that guy forever. We used to have a podcast together about heroes for life, man. I haven't announced the reprint yet. That's going to be at the very end. For those that are asking, Spider-Man by Todd McFarlane Omnibus. This is the solo series, not the David Michelinie one that just went back into print. But this is kind of like the follow-up to that in the Eric Larson series. Here's a wonderful book that should never go out of print. This is Spider-Man by Roger Stern Omnibus. Man, it was so awesome. It's not my fault. I wasn't in the game yet. Need reprints. Okay, that's a good excuse. I'm gonna take that to Marvel, Philip. That is a good excuse, my friend. Stephen King, The Stand. This is another Amazon. I think this is the last time Amazon had a glitch, and I want to say I bought it back in. I guess I could look through my orders, but I'm sharing my screen. I forgot to do that. I want to say this was probably about 7 years ago. They had a glitch, and it was $11 for the box set. And Star Wars finally went out of print. Omnibus 1, the Marvel years, and I don't think they're going to reprint it for a while because they just started releasing the Epic collections. Omar, just rent your Omnis and make some money. Nobody's going to want to borrow my Omnis. They're used. Superior Foes of Spider-Man Omnibus out of print. That's a great story. Thor by JMS, 2 covers. This is the Michael Turner cover. And Tomb of Dracula Omnibus Volume 2 and 3 are out of print. Volume 1 finally came back into print after many, many years at being out of print. Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1 out of print. This is sort of cheating because this is kind of like the second printing because the very first printing was really almost the first omnibus, and that was the Barnes & Noble exclusive Ultimate Spider-Man, which is practically this right here. Ultimate Comics Avengers Omnibus. Yeah. Ultimate Death of Spider-Man Omnibus. The Ultimates Omnibus. Uncanny Avengers Omnibus. Uncanny X-Force Omnibus. I know that's a high want in a lot of people's lists right here. Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2, Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 3. It is a crime that these books are out of print because they are so wonderful. Volume 1 is back in print, so if you haven't read that, that's such a great starting point. Untold Tales of Spider-Man Omnibus, that's a great series. Also had 2 covers. War of the Kings Omnibus, I had no idea this was out of print until I started doing a little research. And Weapon X, The Return, went out of print as well. Even though these can be found pretty cheap now, though. Weapon X and what is it? I think Spider-Man versus Venom still can be found on the cheap side, as well as the Spider-Man Clone Saga Volume 2. Even though they're out of print, people are still selling them in the third-party market for pretty cheap prices. West Coast Avengers Volumes 1 and 2. Why would anybody get those when the Phoenix Omni is available? Yeah, not the same, brother. Not the same. West Coast Avengers Volume 1 and 2. Wolverine and the X-Man Omnibus. So this is so weird. Like, it's so weird that this is the third omnibus in the Wolverine by Jason Aaron series, but it was the first one released. And then they released Wolverine by Jason Aaron. So that's technically the first omnibus, but it was released second. And then the third omnibus, Wolverine Goes to Hell, is really the second omnibus. It gets so confusing. Wolverine by Mark Miller and the Wolverine. This has been out of print for many years too. Women of Marvel Omnibus, X-Force Omnibus, and here comes some big whales right here. X-Man by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee Omnibus. I guess Disney bought near mint. Dude, Disney didn't buy near mint condition. Are you kidding me? Have you seen my mic? Have you seen my headset? X-Men by Chris Claremont and Jim Lee, Volume 2. X-Man Omnibus. This needs to come back in a print. Oh, this needs to come back in a print. But I'll be honest with you all. I don't think we'll see this one for a while, the X-Men by Jim Lee, because we're getting that Jim Lee X-Men Extra Extra Large book pretty soon. So I don't think we'll see these for a while. That's just my opinion. I mean, I could be wrong, but X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. And I realize X-Men Inferno is not an omnibus, but fuck it. Let's make it an omnibus and bring it back into print so everybody can read it. They did the same thing with Mutant Massacre. Mutant Massacre was not originally released as an omnibus. It was a hardcover, and they added some things. Shit, they can add different things to this, and I'll rebuy it. Everybody needs to own this crossover. It's awesome. And it's one of the biggest whales. X-Men Age of Apocalypse Companion is now out of print. The story that took me out of comics for years, X-Men Avengers Onslaught Omnibus, is out of print. I don't know, Clark Nato. I liked Inferno, brother. No, Sledge. Maverick has now been collected. That was Terry Kavana wrote it, and I think was it Jimmy Chung? Jimmy Chung did a lot of the artwork in that. Some very underrated series. Ecstatics is out of print now, and finishing it out with Young Avengers. Let me stop sharing my screen so I can tell you all what's going on. Stop sharing. Okay. So, like I mentioned earlier, somebody figured out what it was. I thought we did a pretty decent job of kind of putting on our Instagram and on Facebook what the omnibus was going to be. And so I'm just the delivery guy. I'm just the messenger, so don't kill me. The omnibus that's coming back into print is the Ultimates. Now, I do want to say a couple things. So that is Mark Miller and Brian Hitch, the Ultimates. It's been out of print for years. It's a well. Now, a lot of people want Uncanny X-Force. A lot of people want Astonishing X-Men. A lot of people want the Jim Lee X-Men. But the way that I see it is this opens up a lot of doors for reprints. There's a couple things that happens. Like Marvel has no idea what's out of print, right? So the good news is I have shared my list. This list that you guys have that's why I did the show, that you guys just did with Marvel. Me personally highlighted a bunch of books that I think that I would be like, if I was a business, I would re-release these books. Now we're talking reprints right now, right? And some people are like, "Why? Who cares?" I care, and I own these damn books. I care because I want everybody to have a chance to have these books. Because, like Philip said earlier, a lot of you guys weren't collecting these things back then, so you missed out on some amazing Omnis that I think should be in everybody's library. Or you can find out for yourself how shitty they are, and everybody just hypes it up, right? Like, I know I've heard people say Annihilation isn't that great, but I mean, I think it is. So they didn't know what was what's out of print, and I remember talking to David on the phone. It was really cool because I was like, dude, this is the stuff that I do. I put it on my channel. I talk about things that are out of print. I'll give you a list. You could just make me a new Warriors Omnibus Volume 2, and we'll call it even. But I seriously doubt that's going to happen because only 5 of us will buy it, and then Marvel will just cut me off. So Ultimates coming back into print really opens up a lot of doors because I started talking to him, and I know that David can't say everything, and I know that Marvel can't reveal everything. But one of the things that I asked, I was like, "Well, is the Ultimate Universe still relevant then?" Because if that's so, then technically we could re-release Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus Volume 1 and give us Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 2 Omnibus, right? just throwing things out there like that because I, as a completist, hate the idea of a volume one just sitting there staring at me while I have to have the rest of the series in oversized hardcovers, right? That just, man, that just doesn't sit well with me. And I know I'm not the only one. I'd rather have everything in one format. So, uh, this is really cool. So, the list that I just shared with you all, he came back to me and highlighted some and said, these look, these will be really good for reprint. And I agree. That's all I can say. And I can say that it seems like Marvel is going to be pumping the crap out of reprints out in 2020. So a lot of you guys will be happy. I will say that a lot of you will be happy with the reprints that are coming out next year. The next one that I'm announcing next month is one that that it was a really fun conversation that we had. I was like, you reprint this now, and I guaranteed it will sell because it's a different ball game now. It's different than it was years ago. It took a while to sell years ago, but this time, if you reprint it now, there's a bigger following. Man, people will buy it. So what I'm going to start doing is, if you follow us on Instagram and if you follow us on Facebook, we're probably going to start putting some polls up there to see what everybody wants reprinted, like start commenting and things like that. Try to get that ball rolling, because like I said, there's some really cool stuff coming out, and I cannot wait to tell you all what's being reprinted. I do know of another omnibus in the works, but I swore an oath not to say anything. Not even my wife knows, and she bugs me about it. So that's how hardcore I am. I don't want to be cut off. I love finding out. I can't wait. Like, so they got some really cool stuff in the works. Next week, I'm gonna release the Epic collection. Now, I got a list, right? And some of them are like the title or just the title of a book and 17. There's a list of 10 of them. So if you guys are into epics, I will be happy to do a live show and we can sit here and kind of map these things out because I haven't even looked at it. I just know that some of them just say volume 17, volume 4. They don't even have titles yet. So it's really cool. They'll tease us for a month. Okay, so that's the thing, right? When David says, that's why I can't say anything, because when David says, "Hey, these look good for reprint," they still have to be approved. Even though he's the guy that runs the collected editions department, it still has to be approved by, Marvel and Disney to get reprinted. I mean, I'm sure, he doesn't have any trouble with that, but just in case they're like, "No, we're not reprinting that." I would hate to announce something is getting reprinted and then get canceled, for the sake of the people that might try to flip that book. No, just kidding. For really the people that are looking forward to a reprint, I would hate that. Like, that's always a fear of mine. So I always, like, before I say anything, like before I announce the ultimates, I got you, like, I will have David on the show, and he said he's not opposed to being on the show or interviewed one day. I'll give him a little bit of time, get him in here, but that's always a fear of mine. I'm like, what if this thing gets canceled? Like, these guys are gonna riot, man. They're gonna come after me and my family. And so I always ask him like 2 or 3 times. I'm like, "This for sure is coming out, right?" And he was like, "Yes, it is. It's already been approved. It will be in the next catalog." So the Ultimates will be in the October catalog, kind of like the catalog that I did with September here, and it will eventually come out. He thinks anywhere from February until March, but things might change. How did the contact with David started? I told this story during our live chat. I don't mind sharing it again. It's a really cool story. It was my 7-year-old daughter. It's her fault. So, free comic book day. I just wanted to chill and go out comic book shopping with my family. And my little girl, my youngest girl, Alicia, said, "Hey, Poppy, aren't you recording for your show?" And I'm like, "Nah, I really just want to hang. I do so many shows. I just want to be with my family." And she was like, but she wanted to be in the video, so I was like, "Oh, okay, I'll record us." So somebody at Marvel forwarded David that video, and he really liked it, and he was like, "You seem like a pretty nice guy. You had a good family, and you were pretty funny." And then he thought I was a video blogger. So then he started watching my other stuff. And when he watched my other stuff, he was like, "Oh, this guy's actually knows what he's talking about." And the first thing I thought of was like all the videos that I did with Marvel, like, Marvel, get your shit together. What are you doing printing this when you should be printing New Warriors Volume 2, right? I'm like, and it's funny because he told me, he was like, I saw the video where you said something. You're looking at the camera and you're like, man, what are you guys doing? And he's like, dude, because you were talking to me, because I'm the guy that you're talking to because I run that department. And I was like, oh shit. Kind of, it's funny because when I had the conversation with him, I was biting my tongue. This is how I found out about the Peter David Hulk Omnibus. This is funny. This is me again, just like, I shouldn't say, I need to quit being myself in these conversations. So we started talking, and I said, because we talked, like, the first time we talked for an hour and a half. It was because I had all these questions, right? This is the guy that makes these calls. This is the guy whose work I've been following. He's the reason we have Epic collections. He's the reason we have box sets. So I had all these questions for him. And one of them, I said, all right, man, why don't we have a Peter David Hulk Omnibus? What is up with that? Why in the hell do we have a crappy story like Red Hulk coming out in omnibus format? Man, and he said, oh, it's because Jeff Loeb is a personal friend of mine, and I thought I'd do that for him. And I'm just like, oh, yeah, yeah. Wait, see, uh, uh, like, I just felt so stupid. I was like, I should just keep my comments to myself. But I guess that's who I am. I'm kind of honest. So, I mean, he still kept the conversation with me rolling. So, uh, by 2 minutes later, he was like, by the way, we are gonna have a Peter David Hulk omnibus, and I could not wait to tell everybody. Like, it was so amazing to have this conversation. Now, hindsight, yes, it was amazing, but then, like, at the time, I'm like, this guy on the phone still could be bullshitting me and just messing with me, right? It could have been like some random dude that found me on my channel and just wants to mess with me. And I'm like, I'm not saying squat until I get some kind of proof. But I took a gamble, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna announce the news, because he was like, yeah, go ahead, let everybody know. He likes hyping people up too. Uh, let's see here. Omar, do you ever think Fantagraphics will do 2 omnibus editions of Don Rosa's Scrooge McDuck like they did with the Sagio Jimbo? Yeah, I think so. I think those books sell enough. Like, I mean, look at the number of times that Life and Times of Uncle Scrooge has been printed, right? They're doing a separate hardcover, and then they're doing the box sets. They're doing the individual volumes. So, yeah, anything, it's money. They love that stuff. Um, Omar, have faith in humanity. Josh, my brother, came in late, watching delay. Love you, bro. Hope you're doing all right. Yeah, man, we're doing better. Yeah, we had a family emergency yesterday, but I think we're doing better. Yeah. So, because you know how much this means to me. Like, just sitting here, even looking at this silly stuff and talking to you all, means the world to me. This is my kind. This is the joy that I give. And there's been some really sweet comments, when I talk about these omnis and reprints, because while it's books to some people, to other people, it means the world. Like, oh my God, Annihilation's coming into print. I I live for that. That's I've had I've had comments that were really, I don't know, they just made my day. They were like, I've had a really shitty month or something like that, but Annihilation coming back into print totally made it. Or my girlfriend left me, and now Daredevil Bendis is coming back. Fuck it, I don't care about her. I'm moving on. It's really cool. So, yeah, Uncanny Durley, my uncanny brother. Clark Nato, it's not weird. I think he really does that on purpose. Don Rosa does look like Uncle Scrooge. My wife and I were eating breakfast in Louisville, Kentucky, where he lives, and I saw the back of his head, and it was so creepy because I ran up to him. I know I've shared a story before. I ran up to Don Rosa and I said, Don Rosa, and he turned around, and I was like, I recognize the back of your head. And I remember saying, I know that sounds creepy, but I love your work. And he was like, you're the second person in Kentucky that has ever recognized me. And I'm like, that's so sad. That's so sad, man, because you are a freaking walking god amongst us. And like anywhere in Europe, that he goes, everybody like lines, just huge lines. Like you're at a Britney Spears concert. I don't even know if she still gets that many people coming to her concerts. I'm just throwing that out there. But you have these huge lines over here, like where he lives. There's hardly anybody that waits in line for him, which is sad. Let's look. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, please let me know. I'll be happy to answer if I can answer them. Of course, I swore a blood oath to secrecy. Like I said, I know there's one upcoming omnibus coming out, and as soon as I uh, I can announce it, I'll let you all know. The reprint that I'm announcing next month, or it's a big deal to me because it was one that I pushed. That I was like, I'm kind of betting on. I'm like, I bet this one sells, and it was so awesome because he emailed me, and I'm like, you're never gonna believe this. Somebody just came in here and said, hey, do you want any reprints to go out this month? And and I replied back, I'm like, what'd you say? And he was like, well, I can't say what it was. He was like, it's the omnibus you said. I'm no fool. And I was like, my man. So y'all better buy that damn omnibus when it comes out back into print. Omnibus is becoming my favorite word. Mine too, man. Mine too. So like I mentioned, next week I have a list of 10 epics that I'm going to release. I'd love for everybody to join me live so we can map these things out. I think that'd be really fun. Uh, some of them are just titles, and some of them are just numbers, like volume 3 and 15. So if you guys want to do that, I'd be happy to do this again. Is Kristen in here? Yes, she is. Shout out to Kristen and Fangirls Assemble every Sunday. Every Sunday, not Friday. See, I didn't need my co-host to remind me. I remembered. There is no JMS Squadron Supreme Omnibus. There was only an oversized hardcover. I think they only did one oversized hardcover. Am I hyped for the Marvel Handbook Omnibus? Sadly, yes, I am. For anybody that missed, like Sandman, the omnibus that's getting reprinted is the Ultimates, and like I mentioned, that could be good. That could be really good for us. That could mean that they will eventually reprint Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1 omnibus and give us a Volume 2. That would be really dope. David said he's not opposed to being on the show, but I'll give him a little bit of time. And I love to talk to him because, like, it's fun to talk to him about these things because there's a lot of things that, like even he's like, I can't say yet, or I don't want to give people's hopes up. So, uh, let's see. The two Daredevil Bendis Omnis are being reprinted. One's coming out in January, and Volume 2 comes out in February. So, like I said, dates are always subject to change with these. Which style of omnibus format do you think is superior, DC or Marvel? I wish DC would just print more stories, and I wish they would stop with the cancellations. Not that Marvel doesn't cancel stuff, but DC just, man, DC can just break a guy's heart, especially a guy that's been waiting for Aquaman, Supergirl, Young Justice, or Kyle Rayner. All these books, they're not even omnibuses, and they cancel them. Anyway, so I'm doing my top 30 most wanted DC Omnis. Part 1 just came out this week. Part 2 will come out next week. That's been fun to map out and do. Omar, would a second Omnibus complete the Ultimate Spider-Man run? Oh, no. It would be, let's see, to take us all the way to death. So there's 12 oversized hardcovers, so that would give us 4, right? If 3 of them make up one volume, one omnibus, that's 4 omnis. That takes us all the way to death, and then death leads us to what's it called? Miles Morales. Am I right? Am I right? I'm right, right? Anybody? Yes? I think so. It's you'll have to keep watching, brother. Philip, it might be. I can't remember honestly what's in my top 10. I got to record my second 21. Yeah, I got to record 29 no, I did 30 to 20. I can't. Numbers are hard, man. The hell am I doing? 19 through 11. No, 20 through 11 is what I'm doing next. Yeah, why don't we have a Jonah Hex? What, dude? DC, like, this could turn into a DC bitch fest, right? DC could sell so many things. They're sitting on literally printed paper sometimes, but they don't print out the stuff that we want. right? We have 3 fucking printings of Death and Return of Superman, but no printings of Man of Steel, the John Byrne stuff leading like Batman post Crisis on Infinite Earths? What? Sometimes I wonder what that department is thinking, but I don't know. Let's see. Give me Witchblade Thick, Hitman Omnibus. You might see that on my list, brother. Actually, I'll just go ahead and tell you, yeah, you will. There is no Marvel Omni. I love a Peter David. I think that was on my list. That was in my top 20 most wanted Marvel list. By the way, I shared that with David too. So he's already working on it because we got Peter David Hulk, but that was before he saw my video. So that's on him. Thanks, Michael Lombardo. Lombardo. Why has DC never made a Nightwing omnibus? I don't know. Because they don't like money. I honestly don't know. They have, yep, Well Status, House of M. That was on my list as well. I think that was my number 10. Yeah, I wish DC would reprint Watchmen in a new format. I think the deal with Watchmen and Sandman is they have to reprint them so often because they have to renew that IP or they're afraid of losing it. The Marvel Omni News, just in case you guys missed it, Ultimates is being reprinted. Mark Miller, Brian Hitch's Ultimates. We need more Watchmen formats. I think we get plenty of those. Right? Oh, it's sarcasm. We did have that one, right? Yeah, the Grayson Omnibus, which is Nightwing. Come on, right? Forever Dick, never Rick Grayson. I am never calling him Rick Grayson. John. Oh, John DeFoor. You're that's from Incal, right? Is that where you got your name from? Love that story. I don't think there's any difference in the UK and US editions other than the price, right? Avengers fan? Chance of another Wolverine omnibus. Stay tuned. Ultimate Universe was great. The Ultimatum. Dude, Ultimatum was so shitty. I, I, I say that and I own the damn hardcover and the compendium. What the hell's wrong with me? Like, I realize it's a crappy story, but I still love that stupid oversized artwork. Why did Marvel stop printing Ultimate Spider-Man omnibuses? That's a good question. I don't know. I think sometimes these things don't sell. So right now, I think they're looking at books that have been out of print for quite a while. At least from the list that I got back. That, like I said, will make a lot of people happy. Some of these books have been out of print for at least a decade. I mean, you're talking about Daredevil by Brian Michael Bendis. That thing has been gone. Good Lord, that was, I want to say 9 to 10 years. Yeah, it's been gone for almost a decade, and it's coming back. That's some huge news. The only good thing about Ultimatum was Doctor Strange's face. Oh, is that when he gets like wrapped up in the carpet and yeah, Brian Hitch. Or no, that wasn't Brian Hitch. That was David Finch. Ultimate Spider-Man. I can see them reprinting that. But like I said, if they reprint that, I love for them to print a volume 2 with that. Just to see, test the waters and to see how well they sell. I mean, you're getting a reprint, so that means people are going to buy it. People that missed out on it, do a smaller print run on that, and do a bigger print run on volume 2, because you know the people that have already bought volume 1 are going to buy it, and maybe people that are buying volume 1 this time around are going to buy it. Will you and or the Near Mint Condition crew be going to any Comic Cons this summer? I think so. I think we're planning something. Just keep an eye on our Facebook and Instagram page. I may go back and visit Jess in Baltimore. The lineups are looking nicer and nicer. They got Jim Lee over there now. They got my boy that did Black Sad. So that I'm kind of pulling for that. I may take the wife to go with me. Omar, you got to put in a good word for me and get me more Venom Omnibus. Dude, you know Venom's... Josh, I don't have to do that. Venom is going to be the new Deadpool. Venom is going to be the new Deadpool. Like, as far as, like, omnibuses, I guarantee we're going to get a bunch of Venom Omnibus. We have a fucking Venom Omnibus Volume 2. I don't even know what's in that damn book. Like, I think it's a bunch of just really crappy miniseries. I want the Remender stuff in omnibus format. It'll be Venom and X-Force. That's how they'll print Volume 4. Yeah, I say Donny Cates gets the omnibus treatment. I say that I hope he stays long enough to make a big run on Venom and has the and has an omnibus eventually. Because I just got his Thanos, which I'll do a first view if you'll the Thanos win storyline, the oversized hardcover that comes out in a couple of weeks. I'm gonna do a first view video of that if you guys want to see that. It's a nice looking hardcover. Let's see. Donny Cates. I think Donny Cates will end up getting a Guardians of the Galaxy omnibus. Drummond. Like I said, some of these things that I've seen in the chat already, I'm just gonna go ahead and say I can't tell you which ones that you all said, but I can say that some of these they're gonna get reprinted. Some of y'all are gonna be really happy. I'm gonna be really happy for you all. And then I was telling my buddy Jess, the Omni Dog, this. I was telling him I was like, I realized that I sent him a list and I never said, "Hey, reprint this," like a book that I want, right? Like there's books that I want. I'm thinking about everybody else. I want everybody to own Daredevil and Annihilation, but I forgot about the shit that I like. I was like, "Damn it. I'm totally misusing my power." Oh well. At least you guys will be happy. Some of you guys will be happy. You think is the biggest well right now X-Men Volume 1? I thought Mighty Thor was the biggest well. And it's weird because both of those haven't been out of print as long as some of the other ones. Silver Surfer's pretty big too. Yeah, you're right about that. I think last I checked, and I haven't looked in a long time, but when I looked at prices, it was Mighty Thor, X-Men 1, Silver Surfer, and then Gimli Volume 1. Those were like the big high up there books. But like I tell everybody else, I mean, I'm not bullshitting. I think everything will get reprinted. You know, you wait around long enough. It just depends on if you see a book out there that you've wanted to read and you see it at a comic book shop for cover price, fuck yeah, get it. Go for it. Support your local comic book store and you're getting a well. But if you see it out there, you know, and it's way over cover and you don't have the money. Now if you got the money, fuck, do whatever you want to. I'm not one to tell you what to do. But, you know, I'd wait around for a reprint if you can wait long enough, unless it's a book you gotta have and read right now. Mutant Menace, yeah, I thought so too. But honestly, when I asked David that question, if Marvel isn't printing X-Men because you know they didn't own the rights to the X-Men characters or Fantastic Four, and he was like, "No, not really. We just didn't realize that things were out of print." And now I believe him because of some of the choices they decided to reprint. Like I said, some of these things have had 3 printings. Hell, isn't Amazing Spider-Man's on its 4th printing. So you all ain't got no damn excuses to miss out on that. Amazing Spider-Man Volume 1. This is the 4th printing of that book. What's up, Ben? The big reveal is Ultimates is being reprinted. It's my buddy Ben. Shout out to Ben. Ultimates Omnibus Volume 1 is being reprinted come February or March. Let's see. You need to use this connection to get us New Mutants and Excalibur Omnis. Thanks, Josh. I am too. Things are looking up, man. Things are doing better. Yep, Olive Miller and Brian Hitch. Guys, if I had that much pull, we have a new Warriors Volume 2 Omnibus. And then they would stop talking to me when only 5 of us end up buying that damn thing. I picked up Mutant Massacre Omni. It's great and great jumping on point for X-Men. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Mutant Massacre is awesome, man. You don't need to know much. Can I make a plug for dude? I would love a Spider. You know, Aaron, you know I've done my list of most wanted Marvel Omnis and the David Michelinie and Mark Bagley Omnibus is there to take us all the way from the Eric Larson Omnibus to the beginning of the Clone Saga. I know it's a big ass omnibus, it's a stretch, but if I'm living in a dream world, then that's what I want. Because there's no way you're gonna Okay, there is. If you split up Maximum Carnage, you could split them up into two Omnis. But those are kind of hard sells because those stories were not that great. Gambit Omnibus, including the old minis. I'll say if that movie ever came out, they would do that. If you don't like Peter Parker, would you like the Clone Saga? Uh, I think the beginning of the Clone Saga is great. Omnibus Volume 1 is solid. It's when you get to Volume 2 that the story starts to be repetitive and takes a huge dip. I'd like to see a Machine Man Omni. Dude, in a perfect world, I'd like to see a Micronauts Omni, a ROM Omnibus, Romnibus. Can you imagine that? Romnibus on the side. Come on, where all the old guys at? I know y'all like that ROM. I do. Uh, but it's all this right stuff, man, that doesn't. I mean, they can't even get Red Sonja for that little. She's only allowed to be printed, I assume, in the Conan books, but not in the other magazines where she appears. Spider Girl Omnibus. I think Ben would back up the Tom DeFalco run. My dad would probably buy a ROM and Micronauts Omni. Thanks, Aaron. Thank you. I appreciate you making me feel old as shit. I would like more mini buses. Yeah, they don't do that many of those. And honestly, I'm okay with them. Like, if they want to sneak these in as oversized hardcovers, I don't care. As long as my shelf is full of hardcovers full of X-Man and Spiderman, I'm a happy dude. No, you're good, Aaron. I'm just messing with you. Spider Girl is at least in complete collections. Yeah. I did, J Don. It's Ultimates. Ultimates is the book that's getting reprinted. And as I said, it might open the door to future Ultimate titles being reprinted and perhaps even a volume 2 of Ultimate Spider-Man Omnibus. That would be dope. I would be all over that. Shout out to the guy that disliked this video. I'm sorry it was Ultimates that got reprinted, but right now I'm going to plug our near mint condition Redbubble store where you can get cool little things like this or t-shirts. I'm actually wearing one today, unlike my DC Omnibus video where I was like, oh yeah, I'm not wearing one. But yeah, check us out there. So this is a good question. Do I think they would ever do a Colossal Conan? And honestly, this is something that I actually wonder, like for real, could they pull something off like that? For those of you that don't have the Colossal Conan Omnibus, it's huge. It's bigger than an omnibus, right? This thing is it's fucking called Colossal Conan for a reason. And Marvel is doing epics right now, but do I ever see them doing the classic? Oh man, I don't know. That's a question that I would love to ask David. I don't know if he can answer, right? I'm sure his answer would be like not in the immediate future. But I think would it be too much pride for them to print something that was printed by another company in the same format, in the omnibus format? I think it'd be dope. What's happening? What are we talking about? Do I think we'll get a Dan Slott Spider-Man Omni? I think after this JMS Omnis are done, they haven't even announced a volume 2 right now, but I think after the JMS omnibuses are done, that the next logical place to go is the um, the Dan Slott run of Spider-Man. At least for me, I think that's where I would go with that stuff. But man, that would be so many freaking omnibuses. And some of this stuff has already been printed in oversized hardcover, so I say it'll be another 3 years at the very least before they even start that. You know, guys, one of the things I'll share this story too. One of the things that David said to me was, we're kind of running low on stories to print, to collect. And my reaction was, of course, shit. No, you're not. No, you're not, man. This is the stuff I daydream about. I'll map out New Mutants, Excalibur, X-Force, X-Factor all day, every day for you. I don't know, there's cats like my boy Aaron out there, Peter M, that map out this stuff in their head, and we have spreadsheets. But then again, it's like, how much is too much, right? How much do you put out there? How many reprints do you do instead of making new things? So it's got to be a hard decision for them too, because I also want new stuff, but I'm also happy for the people that are getting these books reprinted, right? So far, so let's say Daredevil Omnibus Volume 1 and 2 and Annihilation that are getting reprinted takes place of three new omnibuses that could have taken place, right? I'm cool with that, if they want to keep reprinting, but the way that it's looking, we're going to be getting one reprint a month in 2020. So every month I'll be announcing something new. Very cool for the people that missed out on a lot of these things. And there's so much, as you saw on the list, so much to reprint. But then I think, what does that take away from the other omnibuses that we could have gotten? I mean, does reprinting Daredevil Omnibus Volume 1 and 2 by Brian Michael Bendis omit my chance of getting a New Mutants Omnibus? Because that's not cool. But I don't know that. These are questions I would have for David. I guess the next time I talk to him, I'll ask him these questions. We don't even have an Incredible Hercules Omnibus. No, we don't. But for the longest time, we only had one Hulk Omnibus, and I think they were just afraid of making any more because that Hulk Omnibus took so long to sell out. Like, it was sitting years. Like, I would see it at conventions all the time for 30 to 50 bucks. Jay Don, when do I think Amazing Spider-Man Volumes 2 and 3 will get reprint? I think Volume 2 will be reprinted next year. Volume 2 has had 2 printings, and Volume 3 has only had 1. So I know those will sell well. It's Spider-Man. Volume 1, I think the reprint did really well as far as sales. Yeah, one a month, guys. That's what it's looking like. Or at least one solicitation. Doesn't mean that it'll be reprinted once a month, but I mean, if you look at just January, you've got Daredevil and you've got Conan, right? And Peter David. That's 3 Omnis if you don't own the Daredevil. But that's 2 Omnis if you already have the Daredevil. It's an expensive month. So then it's like, how much is too much? How much do you put out there in the market? So do you pull back? Because as a completist, I'm like, no, don't pull back, man. Give me more. Don't take that out of context. But as a guy that also has the budget for his family, for his new house, I'm like, maybe slow down a little bit. So part of me is happy DC is kind of slacking in the omnibus department because, man, if they were to release a Man of Steel and all these other omnis that I want, I don't think I couldn't eat. I'd be like, sorry, kids. Looks like it's toothpaste sandwiches again for us. So, yes. Oh, this is a good question. Surya, is that how you say it? Will Epics get reprints too? So, um, this is the story about Epics. So, to answer your question really quick, is yes, they will. They will definitely get reprints. And David said he wants to keep Volume 1s in print at all time. So it's already a done deal. It's just a matter of putting them out there. So if you're looking for a Volume 1 of an Epic collection, it will eventually be reprinted. Just wait around. It's already been approved. It's just, yes, toothpaste sandwiches, so they don't have to brush their teeth. That's why. See? Third world country, man. We know our shit. We know how to live. So the Epic collections are it's such a project to do because we look at it as, oh man, these are $40 books. That's awesome. You get them at 20 bucks at In Stock Trades or cheap graphic novels or Tales of Wonder, wherever you get them. But by the way, cheap graphic novels is having a sale 50 to 60% off of Epic. So check them out, sponsoring the show. But it costs them a lot of money, and they don't make a lot of money from these because they put as much work into the Epics as they do the Marvel Masterworks line. But the Marvel Masterworks line, if some of you all know, are $75 to $100, so the markup on that is a lot higher. Reprint, it's hard to justify a reprint of an Epic because how do you go into the board and be like, okay, we only made about, I don't know, $2,000 off of Captain America. So that's the hard thing. It's like, how do you justify a reprint of something like that when the markup isn't that high? But he did say that all the volume 1s will be reprinted and eventually start reprinting other volumes. So It's kind of like they're throwing us a bone in a way with the Epic stuff. But I'm a huge fan of the Epic collection, and I know I'm not alone. Mainly because they're collecting a lot of stuff the Omnis didn't. Let's see what other questions you guys. Do you think there will be a Spider-Man Roger Stern Omnibus reprint? I do. Like I mentioned earlier, I think everything will eventually get reprinted unless it's a limited signed edition of something like, and I keep bringing up Usagi Yojimbo because that's the only one on the top of my head, and maybe Bone. The limited editions, Usagi Yojimbo, something like that. I don't see that being reprinted, right? Because there's no way. You piss off a lot of people. But I think eventually a lot of the things at Marvel would be reprinted. Okay. And if you're just now joining, oh, Ben, X-Men by Joe Madureira, how has that not happened? I mean, that would go. I would label that as the Road to Onslaught Omnibus and the Trial of Gambit Omnibus. If you're gonna call it something, but really call it the Joe Madureira Omnibus. Silver Surfer Omnibus, Final Fantasy, Fantastic Four Volume 2 and Volume 3. Yeah, but at the same time, what are the actual sales of Masterworks? I don't know anyone personally that buys them. A lot of people buy them, honestly. Um, for a series that's been running around since the late 80s, I mean, they were the original trades. They were the original collected editions. So a lot of people buy those. They're kind of high. Actually, they're not kind of high. They are damn high. But if the markup is $75 to $100, right, or $75 is retail, $100 is retail, and you're selling 500 of them, it's still a pretty good sell. I don't know. I think there's still a huge following for them. Secret Empire Omnibus. That's the first I've heard of that. That's the Steve Rogers stuff by Nick Spencer. All the tie-ins. Sure. Why the hell didn't we ever get like the one that makes me mad is they were doing all these crossovers in the mid-aughts, right? You had Secret Invasion, House of M, Civil War, Siege. And then anything that was written by not Brian Michael Bendis or Mark Miller did not get an oversized hardcover, like Fear Itself or the Chaos War. Not that Chaos War was that great. Actually, Chaos War was pretty solid. So I'm surprised we don't have like a Fear Itself collection. Power Pack Omnibus, Lionheart. That's right, man. Yeah, see, Aaron, you just bought the first two Spectacular Spider-Man's omnibuses. So the announcement of Volume 2 gives me high hopes that we'll get a Spectacular Spider-Man omnibus soon. Because I know the Spectacular Spider-Man Masterworks, like that second volume coming out, that gives me high hopes that eventually that will be over and made into a Marvel Omnibus. That would be sweet. 90s Punisher Journal, Carl Potts stuff. Oh my God, that stuff was solid, man. I remember Wills Portacio was doing War Journal, Punisher War Journal, and so was Jim Lee at the time. Oh my gosh, that was so good. Can't wait for Thor by Jason Aaron. Yeah, we know those are coming. And those Thor omnibuses are so they're coming. There's no way that they don't. Everything by Jason Aaron, even Ghost Rider, has been printed in an omnibus format. Hearts of Steel. No, I have not read Hearts of Steel. Yep. House of M, man, that was on my top 10 or top 20. Daredevil, Root of Evil, and Spidey Venom. I'm also going to be doing an overview of the Epic collection in case you haven't read any of those or are interested in what those are. And just to let you guys know, I'll also be, thanks to Marvel, giving away some Marvel Epics too, if you watch that episode. So stay tuned for that episode. Not to be confused with the upcoming Epic collection series, which I'll do a live episode next week for that, and we can all speculate on what the contents of those are. I'm all over that Excalibur Omnibus and X Factor Omnibus, man, if that comes to term. But She-Hulk by John Byrne, hell yes. Where's Smotlock? Is he in the chat? I haven't seen him. We talk about that all the time. Omar, have you done a best to worst series from Bendis? Uh, I re- I'll be honest. Like I say a lot of shit about things like that, but like it's hard for me to do videos like that because it's all subjective. It's just my opinion, and I know a lot of people really like the guy. A lot of people really enjoy his work. So I don't know. Maybe one day, if enough people want me to, I'd be happy to. When are they gonna reprint Gimli X-Man? Well, Reed, I just mentioned that a little bit earlier. They're probably gonna be. It's probably gonna be a while because they're doing that Gimli XXL, which if it's the size of this Marvels book, oh my god, that thing is fucking amazing. Yes, Bendis is a really nice guy. He is super sweet in real life. He is a nice human being. So it's kind of hard for me to hate on that dude. There's my boy Smotlock, She-Hulk by Byrne. Fuck yeah, that's right. Yes, his comics they do, and I know it's all subjective, but they do range from shitty to okay. Is Marvel no longer focused on future Silver Surfer omnibus books? Daredevil 2, Doctor Strange, Hulk 2. Man, there I asked David like what are the chances of print on demand, right? And he was like, "No way. there, there's no way they'll do that." The all the all the people like Barnes and Noble and Amazon would hate them if they did anything like that. Omar, have you heard that they might continue the X-Men '90s animated series of Disney Plus? I have not. I haven't. Let me see. Omar, I can't. I know you can't disclose a lot of shit, and you and David talked about. But do you think there's a relationship where he's going to keep leaking books to you? Um, yeah, I think. I mean, uh, yeah, we talk back and forth. He's a really nice dude. Like, I can't wait for to have him on the show. Like, he's down to earth and answers my questions as much as he can. Right? I can't. I can't force him to tell me things as much as I want to ask. And every time we talk on the phone, I feel like I'm on borrowed time. I'm like, oh my god, I've been on the phone for an hour. I have to get this last question in, and then this last question turns into another question that leads into a different conversation. Um, Spidey 2099 Omnibus. Hey, man, that's in my top 20 most wanted Marvel Omnibuses. I share that list with Marvel as well, so maybe we'll get some of that. That's the thing, right? I say that like we as collectors are now in our the older we get, the more we want this stuff in nicer editions, right? So people that grew up in the 70s, I'm sorry, 60s, 70s, and 80s are, you know, have jobs and like, I want to relive my childhood. So I want to get that stuff that I used to read back in the 60s and 70s and 80s and take it off my shelf in a nice collected edition. I don't want to dig through the box. Those same things happening now with the kids that grew up in or the kids, the adults that grew up in the 90s and early aughts. Yeah, growing up, getting jobs, and now they want to see. So it's going to be interesting to see where the lineup changes, right? Where they stop focusing on Silver Age stuff, which I kind of hate because I'm a completist and I would love to have all that stuff, and they start shifting the focus to things like Darkhawk or Sleepwalker, right? Series that a lot of the older folks, well, when I was younger, didn't give a shit about, but a lot of the kids that grew up in the 90s, right? So it's going to be interesting here in the next 10 years where the line takes us, what they shift the focus on. Anyway, it's all speculation right now. That's just me. I'm going to check that out, man. Sledge. Amalgam Universe, DC versus Marvel. So that's one. I know some of you guys have been collecting omnibuses for a long time. That is one that was on Amazon for like 5 years. The DC versus Marvel omnibus. And they never canceled it. They just kind of slowly took it away and never said anything about it. So it was just sitting there in some kind of copyright hell. And Nothing ever came from it because it was like they were gonna do volume 1, I think, and volume 2, the classic stuff, and then the stuff from the 90s. So sucks that we missed out on that. The 2099 stuff was collected in 3 classic editions, and then I think there was a Venom versus Spider-Man 2099, and then we need something else too. I asked the same thing, Working Ant. Where's I actually today I told David I was like, man, I'm such a huge fan of Mark Gruenwald's Captain America and Quasar, and it's sad, right? Because when a lot of people think of Captain America, Mark Gruenwald, they think of like where the hell is it? Like this. Yeah, they're like, oh yeah, Captain America by Mark Gruenwald. That's that shitty Man Wolf story, right? No, this is like towards the end of his run. He had like all these wonderful stories, but for some reason, people remember this. Guy was an amazing storyteller. Rest in peace. So yeah, I told we were talking about that today. I told him I was like, yeah, I'm a huge fan of Mark Grunwald's Captain America run and his Quasar run. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Know what I mean? Know what I mean? Say no more. Yeah, we'll see where that goes. But yeah, it's. I mean, not that this was horrible, but I like a Peter David. Peter David's omnibus would be a little harder to map though, like the Peter David Spider-Man omnibus. Yeah, Grunwald, the captain storyline, man, that was so badass. A Man Wolf omnibus. Well, they have the Man Wolf collection, right? The character from Spider-Man. And I told that story. I think it was last week that David was like, because I remember looking at the camera, going, "All right, Marvel, you trying to tell us there's going to be a TV show with Man Wolf? You tell us he's in the movie, in the next Spider-Man movie?" And David told me he was like, "No, it's just me looking at a stack of Man Wolf comics, going, man, we don't have a Man Wolf collection. Let's make one." I love how these things come together, and I speculate like, "Oh, there's a movie in the works." I guess that's what most of us do. Yeah, Aaron has mapped out all this Spider-Man stuff. Mike Ringo, Todd DeZago. Look at Ben spitting out names from the '90s, man. There's one. I think there's one trade with the. Yep, Aaron said it. DeZago and Ringo. There for a while, Squirrel Girl was selling, so maybe everything's possible. Okay, okay. So here's the thing, Sean. Did they do a Black Panther Priest Omni? No, but I said this last week, and I'll say it again. I bet you with Black Panther 2, they will release an omnibus, and it will either be the Reggie Hudlin stuff, or I would say it's going to be the Christopher Priest run. I'll be all over that because I love that run. So guaranteed, I'll bet money. Black Panther 2 comes out, we get a Black Panther omnibus. No way they miss out on that again. I guess they didn't really expect the movie to do that well. I don't know. Okay, in case you're coming in late, the omnibus news is that the Ultimates by Mark Miller and Brian Hitch is getting reprinted. The omnibus is getting reprinted. So uh, there's that news. Sorry for the people that aren't excited, but I think next month's announcement, most of you will be excited. I know I'll be. I own it, but I'm excited for people that don't own it. It's no thumbs down. It's not Omar's fault. Yeah, I'm just the middleman. Don't kill the messenger. Oh well, what are you gonna do? I would love What If series, man. Love the What If series. I, Freddie, I'm not doing it on purpose, but the minute I leak the stuff, they're gonna cancel all these reprints, and then you guys are gonna be like, "Man, fuck Omar." I know the news. I have a list, but the stuff like I said, he said it still needs to be approved. So, in case it's not approved, see, nobody gets their feelings hurt. right? I swear, the minute that he tells me something, I let everybody know. And I know some people hate that because they can't flip their books, but I guess that's not what this is about. It's about helping those people that can't afford those books to look forward to something instead of jumping on a $350 omnibus, and they'll probably take your house. I don't own every book, Matthew. I own quite a few, but I don't own all of them. There are some things that just not for me. Omar, no whiskey and cranberries when you're talking about the potential omnis. No, no, I got to be sober. This is exciting news, and yeah, it's really cool to break it to you all. It's an honor. It's an honor. Um, but yeah, that's all the news I have, guys. Let me see what else. What was that? Oh yeah, don't forget to hit that like button, please. That'd be nice if you did that. If you enjoyed the contents of this channel, please subscribe. Have you heard anything about Hickman's Fantastic Four? Beginning reprinted. uh, no, I haven't. Sorry. Um, but I promise that I will break the news as soon as it comes out. And believe me, if I had if I have any kind of say in what gets printed, there's already my top 20 video up there that I want Marvel to print in an omnibus format. I would be all over that Bruce Jones Hulk omnibus, man. I'm not lying. Um, so I think Marvel's doing I think it's cool because now one of us, because I feel like, I'm a fanboy. This is the stuff that I love and have daydreamed about, collecting comics for 35 years, being in the collected editions game since 2003. Uh, for Marvel to reach out to me has been a blessing, and then just being inside and just telling them like, well, this is what's going on. This is what people want. That's why please join us on our Facebook page, because I'll I'll put up a questionnaire or something like, what is the number one most reprinted Marvel omnibus you would want in 2020, and maybe somebody from Marvel might hear your voice. So that'd be cool. Thanks, man. I really appreciate all the kind words. Shifty shifts. Thanks. It's my pleasure, seriously. If it makes someone's day, that's all I care about. This baller ass shirt. Thanks for asking. Well, status, my man. Uh, this can be bought at our Redbubble store, which is in the description that I'm going to put at the end of the video. So yeah, check us out on. We're also on Patreon, where you have like early access to some of our videos and exclusive behind the scene videos. And hit that like and subscribe button. But my ass is going to bed early tonight, guys. It's been a long couple of days. I'm just glad I was able to be able to do this tonight. I'm sorry again that I couldn't do it yesterday. And again, check out Cheap Graphic Novels. The link will be in the description. They're our sponsor for this episode. Damn it, I suck at this sign off. I was about to say God bless y'all, good night, but if it's classy and cool, it must be near mint. Thanks again, everybody. Hope you join me next week for the live epic unveiling of the 10 epic collections that are coming out from January until April. Seriously, good night, everybody, and thank you for joining me.